Well, welcome to another segment of Managing It Better. Today, we're going to be talking about software updates and why they're important, because a lot of times we think, oh, we don't really need that. It's just another little fix or some little thing that I don't really need, I don't really care about. So we're just going to ignore the update. And this could be an operating system update, or this could be a software update. But all too often, people like to ignore the updates. And as an MSP, we want to make sure that our clients are getting updated. So we automate a lot of that, those updates for a lot of business applications, Office 365, Java, stuff like that, but also your operating system updates. And we do it at scheduled times so that it's less likely to interrupt our client's day, because there's nothing worse than having that really big meeting, trying to close that really big deal, and all of a sudden your Zoom or your Teams or whatever you're using for your video just suddenly stops. And the next thing you know, you're disconnected, or the application's in the middle of doing an update, or suddenly it's just crashed and you can't get to work anymore. That's catastrophic, because you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to make sales, and suddenly you're stuck and you can't. That's not the time for an update to happen. That's not the time for that little bug that you thought wasn't a big deal to suddenly rear its ugly head and show up. Those aren't the times for things to go wrong, right? And so there's a few reasons beyond what we've mentioned that we want to make sure updates are happening. And some of those are fairly obvious. I mean, we're talking security protection. Vulnerabilities are ways that people get in. If there are bug fixes or software security fixes, we want to make sure that those get implemented, because we want to make sure that you don't become a victim. Right? And everybody wants to pretend that you're not going to be a victim. We have conversations about businesses. They just like to stick their head in the sand and pretend like they're not going to get hit. They're not going to get attacked. But in reality, it's every day rolling the dice and hoping that you don't get Yahtzee. And sometimes you get Yahtzee, and that is extremely scary for a business. It can mean the end of their business. It can mean thousands and thousands of dollars going out the door, maybe millions of dollars going out the door to a hacker to pay a ransom that you hope they give back all your data or unlock it for you. And so these little bug fixes and security fixes that we go, oh, it's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal, because these are the things that help keep you protected from the vulnerabilities. And the way vulnerabilities happen for hackers is they get in a little bit of one, and then they combine it with another, and they continue to chain it together until they circumvent securities. And so what we'll want to do is limit those as much as possible. And security updates are some of those methodologies of doing that. Then we've got the performance and bug fixes, where the software is running, but it can be running smoothly or more smoothly. And so we want those performances to be at their peak. So we want to fix little bugs and security patches with those, but then the performance ones, where the application just doesn't suddenly crash, or it doesn't cut out your audio quite as frequently or at all. Maybe the video, maybe bandwidth is an issue, or lag. Little bug fixes can help streamline applications so that you've got a better shot at being able to run efficiently and smoothly. Next thing we're talking about is new features and compatibility. So Microsoft comes up with an update, a feature update, and software vendors have to match those oftentimes in order to keep the software compatible with whatever the latest security update from Microsoft is, or Apple. One of my favorite things is when Apple or Microsoft update their operating system, or then all of a sudden other apps aren't working. Great example was Apple used to have a server software, and every time Apple updated their operating system, their server software would break, and it was really frustrating while you're trying to manage Apple servers to have an update go through the operating system that you're required to get updated, but then the server software wasn't getting updated with it. And Microsoft has similar things that take place, but we want to make sure that one update doesn't break something else. So when you've got these updates happening, you want to make sure that not only is the operating system getting updated, but the software that's running on that operating system is also getting updated, so you don't have little things completely break. You might look at printers. That Microsoft, Apple updates one thing and suddenly a printer doesn't continue working properly. We want to make sure that updates are streamlined, but they're not likely to break things. And so one of the things that we as an MSP do is we act as our own guinea pigs. We test updates on ourselves. Now, can we test every single update? No. Unfortunately, we can't because we don't necessarily have the same hardware that everybody has. We are a Xerox dealership. We don't sell Kyocera. And so if it's a particular thing that is going to impact the Kyocera printer, we may not discover it until an update goes out. Is this a normal thing that it crashes everything? No. But you want somebody who's going to test it on themselves before they release it onto you, just to make sure that you don't get caught off guard. We're capable of fixing things, reverting back and going, hey, this doesn't need to go out. And so occasionally we find out that there's an update that goes out, gets published, and suddenly we're saying, hey, let's not do that one. And that's good because it protects our clients from getting an update that would slow down their business or critically decrease their business flow. Now, some of the common myths that we're going to bust real quick is updates won't break your system if managed properly. That's an outdated fear. If done properly, yes, they won't break your system typically. But there is still that fear, and therefore we still test those things on us rather than our clients finding out after the fact. And then the quick tips for some of the stuff is scheduling auto updates and restarting regularly. Consult your MSP because you should be upgrading and updating on a regular basis. You should be restarting your computer on a regular basis. And so long as you're doing that, you'll find that things tend to run a whole lot smoother just in general. The old adage or joke is when you call up tech support and the first thing they ask you is, have you restarted it? That's because you'd be surprised how many people actually haven't restarted their computer in 6 months. So that's what we're looking at today. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful week.